Alrighty, welcome back everyone. So today we have a few fun things to talk about. We have some new content coming to the game, as you guys can see right here, but also we have some new EZAs coming to the game as well, including Super EZA, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and the Sub EZA for Side Banner Broly right here from the 7th anniversary. So today we're gonna go ahead and go through their EZAs, talk about what they can now do with their updated kits. I will, as always, go ahead and give you guys my recommendations on how you want to build them with the hidden potential system, and we will go ahead and cover what new content we can look forward to coming soon to the game, because we need some new content. Part 2 has been all cool and everything with the new Broly, but at the same time, I feel like we're missing a bit of fun to make things kind of spiced up and interesting. So today we're gonna go ahead and go through this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the vid today. If you do, show your support down below, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts, all those wonderful things right there. But with that being said, let's continue on with the vid, starting off with the Super EZA for one of the OG LRs, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Guys, comment down below. Do you remember playing Dokkan when this character dropped? Because I do, and man, it feels like a lifetime ago. But anyways, when it comes to a Super EZA, remember, with all Super EZAs, the only thing being changed is the passive skill. The leader skill and the super attack effects will remain the same. But with Broly, for his Super EZA now, so his passive skill is updated. Let's go through this right here. With his basic effects, he has Ki +3 and attack and defense 180% buff right there. Also, he's giving himself an additional Ki +1 per Ki sphere obtained, which is really nice for an LR because that means Ki is not going to be an issue for him. On top of that, launching an additional guaranteed 12 Ki Super, which, for those who remember, this Broly was one of the OG World Tournament beasts and everything. He was an OG World Tournament king because his 12 Ki is an AoE Super. So very nice stuff right there. Also, he's automatically boosting his crit chance and damage reduction by 26% just for existing. And finally, he's also boosting his attacks, making them guaranteed to hit. So this is very helpful against opponents like UI Goku and stuff where they have a chance to dodge. Broly says, I don't care about the dodge chance, I am going to make sure my attacks land. So that's pretty cool, but I will say, in terms of all the different mechanics that Broly could have gotten, this is not that special in the grand scheme of things. So, you know, it's nice and all, but it's not too crazy. But anyways, let's keep going. When attacking with 12 or more Ki, he's boosting his attack and defense by 200%, and with 18 or more Ki, he's further boosting his attack by 260% on top of this right here. When you're facing a super class opponent or when there's another extreme class ally in the same turn, he has a few nice buffs right here, some very important buffs. He's boosting his Ki by 3 again. Also, he's further boosting his crit chance and damage reduction by 26% on top of this, making it 52% in total. And also, he's giving 2-turn support for extreme class allies with 26% to attack and defense. You guys know I love my characters who can give some support. I love it, love it, love it, and Broly's doing just that. Also, when receiving an attack, it doesn't matter if it's like an AoE attack or normal or super, he will be boosting his defense by 260% for the turn. Couple other things too. When there is a Pure Saiyans, Hyper Saiyans, or Goku's family enemy, permanently for the fight he will be boosting his Ki by 6 and permanently doing a guaranteed crit with all of his attacks. And also, for the first 3 turns from the character's entry, then he'll be boosting his defense by 200% and boosting his damage reduction by another 26% before attacking when all allies in the same turn are Exploding Rage or Movie Bosses category characters. So there you go. That is the only change being made to Broly's kit in terms of his passive. This is it right here. This is the only things being changed to Broly with the Super EZA. But there are some pretty cool things going on right here. For one, Broly has a lot of Ki to offer, right? You know, the additional Ki +1, all the Ki right here. There is a lot of Ki being given to this LR. So that is pretty nice right there. And also, as you can see right here, Broly is kind of offensively driven, right? The crit chance and everything, boosting his attack right here. He is focused on being an offensive dude, right? And it does make sense. I mean, obviously, this is Broly from the Broly Second Coming movie, you know, Family Kamehameha and stuff. If you guys remember, Broly was just an offensive demon, right? His muscles right here are bigger than my head. But I mean, this guy was just an offensive beast. And also, he is a character, like in the movies, right, even though they're non-canon, he's still a character where you could punch him in the face or like kick him and he would just smile and keep it pushing. If you did the same thing to me, I promise you, I would be in a corner and I would be crying. But yeah, I mean, this character, yeah, like this kit, I think I said it in my post when I first reacted to it and everything. This kit, it may not be the best kit overall in terms of a Super EZA, but it is very appropriate in terms of the design featuring Broly. It is very appropriate to his character, and in that sense, I gotta give it props. But there are some pretty cool things here as well. 52% damage reduction, that is really nice right there. Built-in crit chance is very helpful, especially in terms of the hidden potential build, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And also, again, that support for 2 turns because, you know, you're probably not going to want to run double Broly right here. So that 2-turn support, that can still be quite helpful. And right here, Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans, Goku's family opponents. Pure Saiyans, that includes, you know, Bardock's, Vegeta's, Goku's, all those characters, Kaba, you know, Kale, Caulifla, all of those characters, they will help Broly get this boost. Hybrid Saiyans, Goku, or not Goku, excuse me, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Pan, those characters right there. Goku's family, mostly Pure Saiyans and Hybrid Saiyans, but also I guess you could include Grandpa Gohan, I guess, and like Chi-Chi. So, you know, just like a bit of like covering bases, I guess, right? But still, this is a very nice, easy condition to meet, and it's important to know, once you meet the condition, even if the opponent is no longer one of these 3 categories, you'll still have these buffs for the rest of the fight. So that's pretty good right there. And this right here is some pretty nice defensive buff right here for a character to work in a slot 1 position like Broly for at least 2 turns, right? Turn 1 and then turn 3 when he comes back on rotation. But I will say, I don't like that this is gate kept for only 3 turns and then it goes away because, you know, yeah, some fights, they are dangerous early on, so this can be helpful there. But also, the fact that it's gone and then you lose this part of the kit for the rest of the fight, that does suck in the grand scheme of things. But also, there is a bit of a niche thing to point out right here. So with this condition right here, all allies in the same turn are either Exploding Rage or Movie Boss category characters. Obviously, Exploding Rage is the category covered by the Part 2 LR Broly, so Part 2 LR Broly, the best leader for the category. If you have him, the Super EZA Broly is going to fit into his team very, very well. And then also, because his kit also works for Movie Boss category characters, he will also work under the Part 1 Golden Frieza and Gogeta, who obviously they lead Movie Boss and Movie Hero categories, right? So important to understand, Broly can fit into both of these teams, and technically speaking, I guess the ideal team is to have Frieza lead with both the Part 2 Broly as well as the Super EZA Broly in terms of like that trio right there. Now, also, like in terms of the niche kind of focus right there, I kind of want to explain this a bit more. The thing is basically with Broly, as long as all allies in the turn are either Exploding Rage or Movie Boss characters, you can get this to work for the first 3 turns. And again, you know, it's only temporary, so you don't have to pay attention to this for a short bit of time, right? But, you know, with the Movie Boss thing, that's going to be covered by Frieza. That's going to include a lot of characters like Part 2 Broly, but also Exploding Rage means you can get characters like, for example, you know, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, right? Like Tech Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, who's a movie hero character. I actually run this Gohan with my Frieza, and the thing is, him being Exploding Rage, even if he's on the same turn as Super EZA Broly, being Exploding Rage means Broly will still get access to this part of his kit. So, you know, Frieza is a character, you know, where he wants part of a movie hero as part of a movie boss combination right there. You know, if you get some Exploding Rage characters like Gohan, it'll work pretty well. So, you know, I do kind of want to point that out. I feel like it's very important to kind of explain that, because I think some people may look at this and say automatically, this is kind of like a messed up kind of design right here. But it is pretty easy to access, and once again, it's only temporary, so even after like 3 turns, you won't have to care about this anymore, right? So, you know, it's important to kind of understand those things. But anyways, you know, that's just what I want to say right there. Now, when it comes to this character with its hidden potential build, I will say this. When it comes to a general design, you either want to use your hidden potential build to reinforce what the character already does, or to cover some weaknesses that are not provided in his kit. For Broly, I would probably recommend the latter, where obviously with his kit, you know, he has built-in crit chance, built-in damage reduction. For Broly, for the Super EZA Broly, this Giga buff dude right here, I will say, for me, my recommendation is that you guys go with heavy dodge and a sprinkle of additional into his hidden potential system. The reason being is that he already has crit chance. Crit chance is not needed in his build whatsoever, and also being an STR character at 55%, he will automatically have 5 crit built into his hidden potential system, so that's already more than enough. Again, he has built-in guaranteed crits right here, a bunch of crit chance, so you really don't need to do that sort of investment for the build. Really, when it comes to Broly, the dodge can be very, very helpful because, you know, even though he has 52% damage reduction right here, the fact of the matter is, he's not the most defensively powerful character. When we look at Halvard's calculations, right? Shout out to Halvard. This is for the new Broly, of course. The maximum possible defense is about 2.8 million, which, you know, 2.8 million is not that high in the grand scheme of things. But, you know, 2.8 million plus, you know, 50% damage reduction, basically, that can still work in a lot of situations, especially for Broly being most likely a slot 2, slot 3 character. But you still, like, I would recommend a lot of dodge into his build because, you know, what's better than taking, you know, double digits? Taking 0 digits, right? You know, taking zeros. So, you know, the dodge can be very helpful there. And again, the additional just for more supers, for more damage. Obviously, Broly has a lot of damage output to offer. So I think in the grand scheme, that's probably the best way to do the hidden potential build for him specifically especially given the fact that, again, he has that built-in crit. That really does help kind of narrow down how you want to build the character to make him succeed. And with the skill orbs, I will say the same thing. Go for, dodge. Actually, probably go crazy on the dodge, because the more dodge, the better. Helps out with the survivability, helps out with any sort of situation. So I think in that sense, just go all in for the dodge in that sense with a bit of additional, because it just works in terms of how Broly is designed and how he wants to exist. So that's what I'll say for him. Now, let's move on to the sub EZA right here for the other Broly, the Sidebanner Broly from the 7th anniversary. So worth noting, he is getting the Awakening medals from the Dokkan Fest physical Broly from way back in the day. I hope they're going to give us missions for this, because otherwise it's going to be a grind fest, it's going to be a lot of stamina, and it's going to be a lot of my time, and I will just hate it. But if we get missions, that'll be really nice right there. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue on with the kit right here. So because this is a typical EZA, the leader skill has changed, the super attack effect has changed, and also again, the passive skill has changed. So with the leader skill, right, 150% to stats now, key +3 for movie bosses category. I will say, props to the category and everything. This is a decent leader skill, especially for new players where you maybe pulled Broly and like, hey, I don't have a movie boss team or anything. This could be my lead. So in that respect, I will give credit there. But also, obviously, at this point in time, this 150% to stats is nowhere near what you really want for the hard content. Can you make it work? Yeah, in some stuff, probably you can still make it work. But realistically, there are just so many better characters with better leads, with better setups and everything. They're just better options for the leader skill in that focus. So just kind of want to make sure that's clarified there. Moving on to the passive skill. So basic effect, 260% to attack and defense and key +1. Remember, this Broly is a TUR, not an LR, so he doesn't need 24 key, he just needs 12 key in terms of maximizing his key focus and everything. So key +1, a nice kind of subtle boost right there. Attacks effective against all types, okay, straightforward. Again, not the best mechanic in terms of all the different options, but still okay, similar to all the different Gogetas, so it's fine there. Randomly changes key spheres of a certain type other than STR orbs to rainbow key spheres. So he's an orb changer for rainbow orbs, which can be quite helpful. So, in that respect, I'm actually really liking this part alone. Orb changing can be so clutch for a lot of different characters right now. So I think it's a great thing to have there. When attacking with 12 or more key, 40% to his damage reduction and 160% to his attack and defense on top of this right here. Keep going, right? When attacking with 2 or more key spheres, which is pretty easy because he's doing orb changer, right? He's boosting his defense by 100%, boosting his damage reduction by another 20%, and disabling the enemy's guard for the turn. So this should work for other characters as well because he's disabling it. So very helpful right there. Unfortunately, it's only for the turn. I wish it was for multiple turns to maximize it, but it's fine. It's whatever. And it's still really easy to access. 2 key spheres and you're getting 60% damage reduction, a good amount of defense, and that guard, removal. So pretty nice right there. With 6 or more key spheres, right? Attack plus 100% launches an additional 12 key guaranteed super, which I said 12 key. It's the only super he can do. So launch additional guaranteed super. If the opponent's HP is 80% or less when he attacks, he's boosting his attack and defense by another 50% and has a 50% chance to do a built-in crit. And then if the opponent's HP is 50% or less when attacking, another buff by 50% to the stats and another additional guaranteed super right here. And finally, after delivering the final blow, fully recovers the HP at the end of the turn, which, for those who don't know, the final blow basically means if Broly is the one to get the KO on the opponent boss in the phase or whatever, you get the full HP Sensu Bean recovery. Now, I will say, this is probably the worst part of Broly's kit, because realistically, this is such a niche kind of difficult, it's very difficult to get this, right? Because you have to deliberately put Broly in a position to win, and you can't predict how the fight will go, how much damage can be done. It's hard to plan for those things. But I mean, it's nice that if you can get it, you get a Sensu Bean for free, so it's fine, it's whatever. But it's still an annoying kind of mechanic design compared to the key spheres, compared to this right here with the HP stuff. This is far more annoying, I will say that. But still, when it comes to Broly, 60% damage reduction with the stats, technically speaking, he has better damage reduction than the LR Broly that we just saw. So that's actually pretty nice right there. No guard, which is unfortunate. We even see nowadays characters with 60% damage reduction and guard and crazy stats still taking a bit of damage from some of these bosses, right? So, I wish he had guard, but still, this is a character where it's clear, with his kit, when attacking, this is a guy who wants to be slot 2 or slot 3. And again, a bunch of additional supers right here, right? He's got his first super right there just with a turn and everything, a second one right here, a third one right here, a fourth one potential with the hidden potential system, so I mean, he's a character who will benefit from being that slot 2, slot 3 character. Probably slot 3 in the grand scheme of things, because I just think there are a lot of better characters who will probably want to be on rotation, especially given the Broly here sadly doesn't give any support in his kit, which, you know, looking at the Super EZA Broly, I wish they could have given a small bit of support to this Broly as well, but it is what it is. But, you know, still a nice bit of stats and everything. When we look at Halvard's calculations, you will see he actually has more defense to offer, not by too much, but still a bit more defense than the Super EZA Broly, right? So 3.2 million, again, that with 60% damage reduction, so he's a bit better. I've seen a lot of people, you know, kind of like relate him to Tech Sin's like Shenron from the GDC celebration. I think that's a pretty decent comparison, but since like a lot of people will agree, Sin Shenron is a bit better. But yeah, I mean, it's still, you know, it's still a pretty fine kit overall. Let's keep going with the super attack effect. Greatly raise attack and defense for one turn and cause supreme damage to the enemy. So pretty straightforward in that respect. Melee super. So that's it right there. Now, when it comes to this Broly right here, you know, right, again, you know, sub EZA Broly, side banner Broly, right, different Broly, right? When it comes to him, I would probably say that my build for him is going to be a bit more different compared to the Super EZA. The Super EZA was a bit easier to build because the Super EZA Broly, remember, going back to him, he had built-in crit, right? With this sub EZA Broly, he doesn't have built-in crit, right? If anything, he has a bunch of built-in additionals. So theoretically speaking, you could argue it's better to go towards more crit than additionals, but I will still say I'm going to probably give him mostly just dodge. Give him a bunch of dodge, give him a small bit of additional and a small bit of crit. I'll probably try to strive to keep the additional and the crit values like at the same level, and the rest of it go straight into dodge, a bunch of dodge in that respect, because again, you know, what's better than taking double digits? You know, taking 0, right? And dodge will help there. You know, we can't predict how, you know, things will handle with AoEs and stuff, so that damage can be deadly for Broly who's in slot 2, slot 3. The dodge can save him in that respect, and of course, you know, when he attacks, it's most likely that all the normals and stuff he'll take in slot 2 or slot 3 potentially, those things will be fine. So, you know, I still think the build, I've been saying it, this like the same kind of recommended build for a lot of characters this year. I feel like the hidden potential system needs a revamping, because at this point almost every character will be benefiting from the same design, which is mostly dodge and a bit of additional, or some sort of combination of those two, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit of crit as well. But yeah, I mean, still, I think, you know, dodge is good for this character. I think a bit of additional is fine for him, and then from there, just keep it pushing. I'm sure, you know, I'm sure a lot of people already have a lot of dupes of this character, but you know, it's going to be very interesting to see how he's going to perform. It's going to be interesting to see who is better between him and the Super EZA 4 Broly right here, because me personally, I want this Broly to be really good. I want both to be really good, but if I had to pick, I'm picking the OG. I'm picking, you know, the OG LR in that sense. So that's what I'm saying right there. Anyways, besides that, we do have some new content, like I said earlier, and this is what we got to look forward to. And actually, it's worth mentioning, we do have a maintenance coming soon later today. So with this maintenance, we will be getting some new content once this is done. So stay looking forward to that. Of course, more Dragon Stones, more opportunities to pull for the new Broly. I still need the new Broly, so I desperately need Dragon Stones. But let's look at the content, right? So we have some new stages for the Union Master event, right? So 5 to 8. So we are getting new stages. It doesn't show right here quite yet, but of course, remember, you know, this is how it works. You know, Fuse Fighters, like 3 required, 5 required. Pretty straightforward. You know, you want to beat the missions and everything for the Dragon Stones. They actually do give a lot of Dragon Stones in that respect too. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, this should be pretty straightforward there. I don't expect the content will be that difficult. This was not really that difficult of an event. But still, more stages, that'll be great right there. Another stage for ESBR, Extreme Super Battle Road for Planetary Destruction. Real quick, let me just go ahead and go through Planetary Destruction, I guess, in that respect. I believe Frieza is a part of that, so let me just see if I can find it. There we go. With the Planetary Destruction category, of course, you know, we got some good characters for the lead and everything. Obviously, the recent EZA for Golden Frieza, so he's going to be really great there. Tech Broly is going to be great. Great Vegeta right here. You know, Full Power Frieza. Some pretty good characters in that respect. So, you know, you have some pretty good options. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be, relatively speaking, a cakewalk, but at the same time, I'm sure you want a few of these characters like Frieza to make sure things go a bit smoothly. So we'll see how things go, but that's not going to be too bad. And that's going to be the only stage for ESBR. I hope we get more stages for Super Battle Road and stuff, because that's pretty easy content for a lot of players, especially if you have the characters. I hope we get more content, because that would be great. And also, we're getting new missions for Battlehorn and Formidable Foes. We just recently got a few missions for Festival of Battles, which I will say I still haven't beaten those because I hate them. I hate Festival of Battles, like in terms of like a gameplay mechanic. It's like, it's long form content in terms of like the best representation of it, I guess, but at the same time, I just don't enjoy it that much. This is going to be more fun. I don't know if they have the missions right here quite yet. If they do, That'd be nice. But yeah, we don't have the new missions quite yet shown here, but I'll probably do a mission, or like I'll do a vid kind of going through those new missions for this. It's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be great, and a burst mode. So yeah, I mean, all things considered, this is gonna be, it's gonna be pretty good, right? And again, it starts from Tuesday, so I think some of this content will show maybe a bit later. Obviously, we don't have any information specifically on when the Super EZA and the EZA themselves drop, but they're probably gonna be showing sometime in like the next 2 to 3 days, so we can look forward to that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all that we can look forward to for the next week or so. Again, like, I'm glad we're getting the stuff, but I wish we got it a bit earlier, because BROLY, you know, he's cool and everything, but part 2 has felt kind of dry, especially with Gekushin Squadra being out and everything. Legends is going through it right now because their meta is just ass. I have the Namek team over there for those of you guys who play Legends, and I still don't like it, but I'm glad they're giving some new content for Dokkan right now, because we desperately needed something to kind of liven things up and spice things up and make things interesting. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the Super EZA, the EZA, the new content, because that's gonna be where we wrap up the vid. Again, if you guys enjoyed it, show your support, you know, drop a like down below, subscribe to the video and everything, subscribe to the channel and everything, share the vid, all those great things right there. Again, comment down below your thoughts, you know, comment down below, let me know what you guys want to talk about, all those sort of stuff. I'd love to talk with you guys, of course. But that being said, thank you all so much for watching, take care, stay blessed, and I will see you all in the next one.